Did you know that your AIO liquid cooler could probably be better than it is? Welcome back to FTW Tech. I'm your host Isaiah, and it's time we talked about Asetek. So, basically, Asetek is a company that licenses their AIO design to other companies to use in their coolers. It seems harmless, but sometimes it's not. It can restrict the market in various ways, and we're going to get into that. But first, some backstory. So Asetek has been an original equipment manufacturer, or OEM, of liquid cooling solutions since 2007, but they were founded before that. They create the designs for liquid cooling systems, so that includes, pumps, radiators, tubing, etc. around the world. What Asetek does is they license their design to be used by quote-unquote manufacturers such as EVGA, NZXT, and Cooler Master, who add their own design and software touches to the cooler, and they also suggest design features to Asetek for their coolers. So often manufacturers give Asetek a PCB that they want to use that integrates with their software, and Asetek integrates that PCB into their own design, making slight adjustments when necessary. So in 2012, Asetek received a patent in the US for their all-in-one liquid cooling systems. Most AIO manufacturers pay to use Asetek's license rather than making their own designs, and honestly, why would they? Basically, Asetek's been very strict with enforcement of their patent, which states that they are the only company legally allowed in the United States to put the pump inside the water block, which is the most logical place to put it. So, that can be restrictive right there. In 2016, for example, Asetek pursued legal action against Cooler Master and received $600,000 in damage compensation. In 2015, Asetek sent cease and desist letters to Gigabyte and AMD regarding their liquid-cooled graphics cards, claiming patent infringement. Cooler Master, which manufactured these coolers as well, was forced to suspend sales of the products in question and pay increased royalties to Asetek. Asetek is currently engaged in a lawsuit against Corsair after CoolIT, another OEM that I'll get into in a sec, essentially told Asetek during their legal battle that they made design choices due to Corsair's own recommendations to them. CoolIT, however, has fought back against Asetek in the past, like in the 2014 lawsuit in which they claimed Asetek violated their patent on their split-flow fluid heat exchangers found in their AIOs. So, for a long time, Asetek have been the market leaders in the AIO market. CoolIT is their main competitor, and the two have had legal battles, as I said, regarding Asetek's pump and block design in the past. So CoolIT also licenses their design to AIO manufacturers, and they are used by companies like Corsair, as seen on their new IQ Elite Capellix series of AIOs. So they're also used by smaller companies, there are also smaller OEM supply companies, such as KD Industrial, which is used by Be Quiet and Enermax, Apoltech, used by Silverstone, LEPA, and Enermax, SwiftTech, used by Cooler Master, and AlphaCool, used by Fractal Design. So it's important to note that companies don't always stick to one supplier. So Fractal Design, for example, they use Asetek as well as AlphaCool. They've used both in the past. So one of the main ways that companies get around Asetek's patent is by placing the pump in the radiator rather than in the water block, like in the case of the NZXT M22, which was made by Apoltech. Unfortunately, this blocks some airflow going through the radiator because the pump's in there, and therefore it puts it behind similar Asetek designs like the EVGA CLC120 in thermal and noise metrics, so that's unfortunate. But other companies also use efficient designs, like Deepcool's proprietary 3-chamber design, where the pump is next to the block but not in it. They're like in different chambers, but they're all in like one unit that goes over the CPU, but it's technically not in the block. There's also AlphaCool's compact DCLT pump, EK's past design of mounting the pump to the side of the radiator, which can cause issues due to increased radiator length, or SwiftTech's design, featuring the pump and reservoir on the back of the radiator, which unfortunately makes it impossible to mount the AIO fans as exhaust. You can't mount them on the side of the radiator because the radiator is blocking it, so you have to put them on the other side. And that's unfortunate as well. So CoolIT seems to get around Asetek's patent via their pump on cold plate design, which uses a pump block combination, but it seems that the pump is not in the actual block. So kind of similar to what Deepcool's doing, but I can't really confirm that this is how CoolIT gets around the patent because there's really not much information out there, but that's what it seems. So Another segment of the market big into Asetek coolers is system integrators, also known as SIs. So SIs use companies like Asetek's designs to make their pre-built gaming PC pricing competitive when compared to custom building. Many SIs, like CyberPower, leave their AIOs completely unbranded, and they buy Asetek's designs in huge bulk quantities, so they pay a lot less per unit than the end user would buying the same design, but like branded. So yeah, big with SIs. The Asetek and CoolIT designs are also big into use like for servers and such and enterprise solutions, but I'm not the channel you guys should look at for that. I'm into gaming PCs. I love this market, so that's really what I focus on. So we're not going to get into that. But the use of OEMs like Asetek and CoolIT. So to put more perspective into like what OEMs are and what they do, companies use OEMs all the time. So for example, Cooler Master's keyboards don't use Cooler Master switches, of course. They use Cherry or Gateron switches. This saves them money because the OEMs that make the switches can make them in huge quantities, so Cooler Master can buy them at low costs. This can also be good for the consumer because OEMs making the same thing over and over will ultimately get quite consistent and specialized in that area, perfecting that product. So Gateron stems are also used for switches not marketed as such, like AIOs switches, which are actually manufactured by Gateron. So as you can see, the use of OEMs is very rampant, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can save money, and it's great because the companies don't have to manufacture their own stuff to make a product or to sell a product. They don't have to make it themselves necessarily. You could say maybe that's shady, but I don't really think it's shady. It's a very common practice. So. On the flip side, though, OEM products can often feel too similar to each other, and really they are. So all of Asetek's coolers are the same or all of Asetek's coolers of the same size often perform about the same. Same with keyboard switches. So Cherry Reds and Gateron Reds aren't really that different at all, as much as keyboard enthusiasts love to, have their favorite switch. So companies are often limited in their abilities to make their own versions of products in segments that are dominated by OEMs because they have to be extra careful not to infringe on a patented design or something. So Asetek has had issues with reliability in the past with certain generations of their pumps, and that's an important thing because that can affect the entire AIO market since so many coolers are made by Asetek, NZXT Kraken, EVGA CLC series, etc. So the Gen 5 Asetek design had some instances of pump failure, and the routing of the tubing was not optimal either, and that can really affect so many people, so that's not good. But what about cooling and reliability overall, cooling performance and reliability? It really depends which generation of Asetek's design is used, so their Gen 4.5 pump runs at a higher speed and therefore is louder. Gen 5 is more balanced, but has the aforementioned reliability issues, while Gen 6 has similar performance but focuses more on preventing leaks, which is good. You definitely don't want leaks, so. Fan choice plays a huge role in cooling performance, but overall, Asetek does trade blows with CoolIT in terms of performance, not a huge difference there. So Corsair's H115i Platinum, for example, which is a CoolIT AIO, performs within margin of error of their H115i Pro, which came out a little bit beforehand, and has the Asetek Gen 6 design. They perform so close to each other, and they're the same size radiator, the same fans, all that. The only difference is the OEM itself. So the designs really are very similar, at least between the two main players, Asetek and CoolIT. Asetek being bigger, but Some of the best performing AIOs out there really are Asetek designs, such as the EVGA CLC 360, NZXT Kraken Z73, etc. While some are not. The Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360, the Deep Cool Castle 360EX, those are not Asetek designs, and they are awesome. As far as reliability goes, Asetek claims the failure rate of their CLCs is roughly 0.015%. Very, very low. Presumably, that is over the warranty period. And that is a figure from Gamers Nexus, so all credit to him for this figure. Asetek coolers rarely fail, but when they do, it's often due to the liquid in the cooler surpassing 60 degrees Celsius. Not the CPU itself, but the liquid. At which point failures become very common. However, the liquid often stays way cooler than that, around 32 degrees Celsius in the case of a 9900K, tested by Gamers Nexus. So I'm crediting him here, this is all him. Additionally, in a Gamers Nexus report, NZXT claimed that the return/RMA rate for their Kraken AIO series, made by Asetek, is about 0.25%, so pretty low. Essentially, it's unlikely that an Asetek cooler will die on you as long as you treat it well and only use it for a few years. You really shouldn't be using AIOs for over 5 years because, eventually they're pretty much bound to leak or to have a pump failure or some issue event like down the track. So just make sure you're upgrading every few years. And that's an issue with AIOs. With the Noctua NHD 15, you can run that in your system for 10 years just fine, but with AIOs, it's a little bit more than that, so just know what you're getting yourself into. There are two sides to every coin, however. While this may be an unpopular opinion, since enthusiasts love to hate Asetek, perhaps Asetek's stranglehold over the pump and block design is forcing other companies to innovate if they're to push the market forward. So pump in tank designs, for example, could be promising for AIOs, as could external pumps, like the ones seen in the Radiator Orcus. However, the added size of the external pumps could cause compatibility issues, seeing as the pump hangs on tubes near the radiator. This could be a problem like small form factor systems where AIOs are very common due to limited clearance for tower coolers. So Asetek pretty much has the most efficient design at the moment, and they're making other companies pay them to use it, which simply is smart. I can't really fault them for that. I'm just letting you guys know what Asetek is doing. I want you guys to be aware and informed consumers when you're making purchases. So again, don't let the fact that your favorite products are made by OEMs discourage you. Don't let that discourage you. There are still things that make some AIOs better than others. For example, Deepcool's anti-leak technology is a great feature that sets them apart from other manufacturers. While Deepcool's AIOs may perform similarly to other Asetek AIOs of the same size, I shouldn't say that. They're not made by Asetek. They are Deepcool's proprietary design, but compared to Asetek AIOs of the same size, they may perform similarly, but they have the added benefit of being less likely to leak. That might be a feature that you want. Maybe you can use it for longer if you get a Deepcool AIO with their anti-leak technology. Furthermore, some companies just simply put more time and effort into making their AIOs close to being perfect, despite using OEM design. So for example, while respected brands that still use OEMs, like Corsair, test and validate the performance of their coolers extensively prior to their launch, their release to the public. They work out all discernible flaws that they catch. So not all companies put that kind of time into testing and quality control. Additionally, as I stated earlier, the fans on the Radiator, or I didn't state this earlier, but the fans play an important role. I stated that earlier. But the fans used on the Radiator have nothing to do with the OEMs, like Asetek and CoolIT, and the fans, like I said, greatly affect performance. So if you equip any AIO with Noctua fans, you'll likely see improved thermals. So the fans are not made by the same OEMs. Like Asetek doesn't make fans. So, EVGA, they use Asetek, but they put their own fans on, just like NZXT does. So yeah. Sometimes fans are made by OEMs, but I'm not going to get into that right now. They're not made by Asetek, CoolIT, Appaltech, none of that. So what else? I already said that. For my personal AIO recommendation, I would say the best price to performance AIO is the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 series. Great thermals, no RGB unfortunately, but amazing thermals and noise. Gamers Nexus loves them. Make sure you check out his reviews. The Arctic Liquid Freezer 2, 240, 360, whatever, that lineup, it has a proprietary design, so not Asetek. But if you want RGB, the best option, arguably, is the EK AIO 240 and 360, which also use a proprietary design, and they have great thermals and noise, all that. It's important to note I'm not trying to bash Asetek in any way. If I was an AIO manufacturer, I don't know. I guess I'm getting my grammar mixed up here. But point is, if I was an AIO manufacturer and I was looking to, keep costs down and know that my products would be reliable to some extent and they'd perform on par with other coolers, and I could, really market them to my consumers with other things like software integration, I'd probably use Asetek. It's a safe option. I just wish that there were more options at a competitive price and that Asetek would really be forced to innovate. So that'll be it for the video. The companies that are innovating with their own designs are starting to beat Asetek in terms of performance, like the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 series and the EK AIOs. Hopefully this will force Asetek to improve their designs as well. That's what we can only hope for. My only real issue with Asetek, I shouldn't even say it's an issue, with their patent and their strict enforcement of that patent and their legal action against other companies. It's annoying, and it's almost predatory and like anti-competition, but not really, because I can't really fault them. In fact, I can commend them for coming into this market early, coming up with an efficient standard design, and licensing it. I mean, that's just smart business. So it's unfortunate that Asetek is doing it, but that is their market, that's their strategy, that's their business strategy, that's their strategy. They're making it work, they're making money, so, you know, props to Asetek. So that'll be it for the video. I hope I could teach you guys some stuff about what Asetek is doing and how that may impact your cooler and stuff. TLDR or TLDW, because it's a video. Asetek coolers are great. They perform on par with other coolers, generally speaking. And don't fret if you have an Asetek cooler. Really, don't fret. So that'll be it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. That was Isaiah from FTW Tech. And yeah, see you guys.